In reality, only a select few individuals hold the power of influence. Not a power over a luxury item never to be owned, but real influence over police, governments, and even clandestine fraternities. My true story is so controversial that I invite you to comment and even question my integrity. Episode 2, Informants. Now you may remember that my brothers were taken to separate police stations. Bert was taken to Grays, Paul was taken to Basildon, but only after he'd been to hospital. We weren't allowed to see them for days, and we'd finally get to talk to them. It would be a huge shock. The excessive amount of CS gas used in what they call restraining them had a terrible effect. They both looked dreadful. Their skin was peeling, they had rashes all around their face due to the abuse by Essex police and the use of CS gas. It took some time to unravel what happened that night. My brothers were clearly shocked and scarred, both physically and mentally. In the end, by going between the two and piecing it all together, we managed to get so much evidence to support the story that I can confidently say that Essex police acted corruptly in this case, and they fabricated and withheld evidence and gave false testimony at trial. The solicitors and barristers have also got many questions to answer. But let's just get back a bit and lead ourselves into that court hearing. The guy under the sheet, the deceased, was said to be, by many, I didn't know him, a low-life drug dealer called Gary Edwards. He'd been so problematic whilst living in Tilbury, Essex, along with his girlfriend Patricia, that they were moved out to South Ockenden. And strangely enough, their flat was about 30 yards from mine, although I'd never bumped into them before. What was happening was Gary was selling his prescribed medication to children as young as 11 and to the partner of Michelle, who came and saw me and alerted me to the murder. A few other lowlifes in the area knew of him and agreed that he had a reputation for giving or selling drugs to kids. Yeah, really nice guy, eh? And that was promoted by Essex police and their media friends. Nevertheless, no one deserves to die. But they may not be a view of the parents of whose children overdosed when purchasing DF's tablets purchased for £1 for 5, or so we heard. Look, the reality of this case is that on the night in question, Gary was being chased by a group of teenagers who had allegedly been ripped off in some drug deal or a stolen bike. This was all witness evidence. He ran into the village inn, the Plough, on the night because he was worried about being stabbed by these kids. Somehow, he planted himself onto my brothers. Well, Paul in particular, as I said, he's a nice guy and a big heart. So when he saw this lowlife or a man that he thought was hard on his luck or down on his luck come in the pub, he bought him a pint. Fucking stupid move. Gary, never being bought a pint by anyone because most of the people here in the area knew him, started putting himself on Paul and trying to sell him drugs. Now, Brian's no idiot. He's one of the most respected people you'll meet. But instead of fucking him off, he just sort of distanced himself from him and said, "No, I'm not interested, mate." When Bert went to the toilet, Gary followed him in, trying to sell him drugs. Gary was not only trying to sell prescribed drugs, but his girlfriend's drugs. And they were only given to him a few hours before. DFs, diazepam, opiates. It all suggests that they were ex-junkies that were fucking relying on a few prescription drugs to get them through. But whatever it was, the evidence is they were selling this gear. According to the evidence, Bert's come running out the fucking, or swaying out the toilet, sat on a seat and he's almost gone out. Bert jumped up and thought, "What the fuck's happened to my brother?" And it's alleged, give one punch to Gary and ironed him straight out on the floor. The next thing, a group of men playing pool run over, and that's where Wick, Sibley and McGrath come in, and another guy I'll get into later. Well, his name is Darren. He's a plumber from Wood and Ferrers, might as well name him there. And then, according to the story, Brian's carried Gary Edwards out the pub and dropped him on the fucking road. Everyone else has come running out. Someone's come running out of a bar store and started smashing Edwards to pieces with it. At the same time, a car's gone flying down the road and apparently run over Gary Edwards' head and possibly my brother. Pulled up by the bus stop, got out, got attacked, and then sped off. Whoever was in that white car, we got a statement, was a copper. So it lends itself to whether the police were protecting a cop who ran over a body, killed him, and then they put it on my brothers. But all of this and more will come out. It might be interesting if you try and put it together yourself. It fucking took me long enough to do it. Anyway, at worst, what was Paul going to get? ABH for hitting a drug dealer who was trying to sell drugs to kids and me fucking brother? The jury would have fucking laughed. But no, Essex police were fucking hell-bent on putting me brothers down for this. We wanted to know why. There was also a few other travellers, 20 of them, around from Buckles Lane in South Ockenden on that night, who was also neither found or questioned. It seemed that every turn the police were dragging their heels or looking in the other direction, or more importantly focused on my two brothers. They weren't interested in anyone else. Police knew that taking samples late would reduce any defence, and they did their best to fuck you about with the labelling or mislabelling of those samples and the delay in taking them. Because the longer they take in taking the samples, or the more they delay in taking the samples, the less value of drink or drugs will be left in the sample, because it diminishes in time. Because what happens is your liver metabolises what goes through your system. So whether it's alcohol or drugs, your liver is distilling them, so that then afterwards, if taking blood or urine, whatever's left after its distillation is the sample result. And we believed it. And why shouldn't we? These were top criminal solicitors who would do this time after time, and the police, the most senior police, the commander of Essex, David Bright, running this case, knew about the drugs, so he was managing everything in it. The other thing was that the drugs were found and exhibited in the pub on the floor. The same drugs, DFs and other drugs, diazepam and other things. The police knew there was drugs in the pub. Whilst everyone is reviewing this, my brothers were sent to HMP Chelmsford and then on to an ID parade at Colchester police station. And it might sound strange, but with all those people there, all the witnesses, all the police and everyone else, not a single independent witness picked out either of my brothers. In fact, no witness picked out my brothers, independent or knowing them. They were all seeming convinced that the murderer was another bloke altogether. And that other bloke was picked out at his own ID parade in Southend by two people that knew him. One was a barmaid and the other one was his friend, Paul McCleary. So two people that knew Wicks picked him out as the murderer. It was all mumbo-jumbo at the time. Information from here, information from there. I mean, we didn't know which order it went in or how to distill it. And we were only picking up what people wanted to tell us, basically. The police, they manage these things day after day, so they sit down in a canteen and get all their heads together, correct their statements, even duplicate them and put their own names in. It's called canteen culture. That's how they make things stick. They all put their heads together. And this was where Bright and Carter got everyone together that evening and did exactly that. Now, whilst all this is going on, we've got a job that we've left in Dulwich that's unfinished, and my parents are in bits, I'm in bits, but someone has got to do some work. So the way we arranged it between us was my mum and dad would go and visit my brothers every day to keep up their morale and talk to the solicitors, and I'd go back to work and try and earn some money to keep everyone going. And I can't tell you, well, I can tell you how I felt when I went back to Dulwich, and it was almost the same kind of feeling as when I came from the murder scene to my parents' house, of the contrast between the two worlds, the normal and the abnormal, because my normal life now became the abnormal, and I went back to the site, which was what was the normal. I walked in, the tools are all where they were when we left them, and I just broke down. And my Uncle Terry was there, and I said, look, so I've got to go and have a walk. He said, all right, no problem, mate. He said, I'll be here when you get back. He said, I'll get the gear together. And so he did. He started putting all the tools together. And I walked and I walked, and I found a church around the corner, and whilst I am religious, I'm religious in my own church, my own heart. I don't go to church, but I'm a Christian. I'm a Church of England. I believe in Jesus. At this time, I walked into a church. There's no one in there. And I sat down in one of the pews, and I just leant forward and just started crying. And from snivels to full-blown tears and uncontrolled crying, I guess. And with that, there was someone playing a piano, and they were playing away, playing all sorts of hymns and stuff. And someone walked over and said, look, you like me to play something? And I just came out with Onward Christian Soldiers. And this all might sound stupid and muggy and all the rest of it, that's what you think. But trust me, when you're in these situations, you're not in control of anything. You're just reacting. You don't know where it's coming from, you're just reacting. I started playing it and that didn't help. I just burst, more tears, more heartbreak. But after there was no tears left, or so I thought, I walked out, thanked the pianist, went back to sight and went home. As I got out of the car and was putting my stuff away in the garage or shed it was, at home, parents' place, I was walking across the car park and I bumped into two locals. One was Jimmy, who I'd known since primary school, and his mother, Faye. Jimmy and I had attended most of the schools, had similar friends, but I never hung out with him as he'd always come across as a snake. Shady, untrustworthy character, and that's my view on him. The other guy that was with him was Nicky, and he lived in a flat in Grays in Essex. I'd had a pint or two with him in the Prince of Wales in Ockenden and took him to a private elf club where Paul and I had previously were members. It was the Circle Spa in Queen Elizabeth Street in Bermondsey. We'd refurbished it many years ago after refurbishing most of the tea houses or luxury apartments in Butler's Wharf. We became members after refurbishing the Circle Spa, and I think it was Jeffrey and a female that owned it at the time. We became their first members. And as I say, that reverts back to how much money we were earning. You know, £1,000 a week when we were young men, early 20s. We'd had been trained well by top tradesmen. You know, we came out fit, healthy, smart, highly trained, and we were at it, earning a good amount of money. And that was on day work. Price work, we'd doubled that. So, look, whilst I'm not particularly close friends with these two characters, they were both unnervingly interested. I mean, whilst I was battered and all over the place, I still have some wits about me. And I could tell that they were asking me too many questions. You know, I mean, they were very interested in knowing what we knew about the events on that night. So I remember Jimmy saying, "Oh, so sorry to hear about what happened to the boys. Do you know anything?" I just remember looking at him, "What the fuck's he up to?" I said, "Only what we've been told, Jim." Why don't you come round and have a few beers from time to time? You must feel like a break from all the drama. And whether he talked like that or not, that's how I see him. But the thing is the content. I never drunk with Jimmy. I never hung about with Jimmy. Jimmy's a little wrong. And you know what I mean? I see him, I'd fucking turn away. You know what I mean? You wouldn't want to have it with him. But here I am, Jimmy, asking me to come around his house and have a beer. Too fucking wrong. And Nicky as well, standing like a fucking lemon, joining in. For some bizarre reason, I wanted to know why the fuck he was asking me. So I agreed. I said, all right, Jim, I'll come in. I'll come around. When will you be in? And he said, all right, anytime. And it was just like raising concerns. I said, fucking, any time. Who's got any time? You know what I mean? You want me to come around this time or the weekend, or when do you want me? Any time means you're just desperate to fucking hear what I've got to say. And this was just spurring me on. I was thinking, fucking hell, you know what I mean? I kept it to myself. I didn't tell anyone. I was just fucking interested. I said, all right, I'll come round. He said, I'll come round the weekend. So I went round there on the weekend. And Jimmy came at the door after hearing him running down the stairs into the porch. All right, mate, come in. Right, we're all in the kitchen. And I'll never forget, I walked in, stood in the kitchen, and Faye sitting in the front room with her lodger, Steve, at the time. So, hello, Dale, Faye said. Come sit in here if you're more comfortable than out there. Jimmy, come in here. I went in, sat down, and it wasn't 10 seconds before I had a hand on a small bottle of imported French beer. And then Faye went on. I was being interrogated. So, do you know what happened then? Everyone's talking about it. Sorry, it must be terrible for you and your family. Now, it must be terrible for you and your family. They're just saying to you, you fucking arsehole. We've been trying to fucking get one up on you for fucking forever. Now we're fucking going to be smarmy little cunts and fucking rub it in. Terrible for you and your family. Sarcasm at its best. And anyway, this is what I'm saying to you. These times are when you don't jump up and you go, shut up, you little fucking idiot. You play along. Sometimes in what I refer to as the silly boy attitude, when you're not really being silly, you're just being reserved and controlled. And let's just say the reserved and controlled nature I was being, I'll refer to as silly boy. I was being silly boy at that moment and talking to Faye. And I said, I don't actually know at the moment. There's a few things coming through, really. So as I went to the toilet, I thought I can't have much more of these two. I could hear Faye and Steve discussing the living situation. Now, Jimmy, at the time, was working as what we call in the building industry a mastic man. He worked doing mastic jointing. So it wasn't his sticky persona, but it was mastic, although it fucking could have been. It was actually his work. I won't call it a trade, although there are many that are highly skilled at it. He had little money and he was struggling to find accommodation in Thurrock, so I overheard. And the local council were playing hardball with Jimmy, as, like me, he was in the worst category to be given a council flat. As a single white male. I mean, at those single white male, you tick those boxes and you find yourself tumbling down the fucking snakes and ladder at the bottom of the council list. They'd offered him 2 council properties, one in Tilbury and the other one on the Garrison estate. and he refused both. I get it. I know where these places are. You wouldn't want to fucking live there. Anyway, I left, and that was it. Left them with nothing. And I visited Jimmy a few more times. Nikki was there on occasion. And each time, same old thing. They all wanted to know what I knew. Oh, what's happening to Paul and Bert? Oh, what's happening? You all right? They didn't want to think I'm all right. They were thinking, well, we're glad to see you suffering. We're just saying it to give you another kick in the nuts. The final time I went round there, and Jimmy said to me, look, he said, I've been invited to take an apartment in Praia da Rocha in Portugal for the World Cup. Italia 98. And, Nikki and I wonder if you'd like to come with us. And I thought, this is fucking, it's enough to get a beer off him. You know what I mean? It's a beer. But now I'm being asked to go on holiday with him. What the fuck's going on here? So I went away and I went on a visit with brothers and updated everyone. I said, he's fucking wrong, as I said. Anyway, they're laughing. Saying, go on and have it. Go on, fucking give a fuck. Chill out, get some sun, watch a bit of football. We're all right in here. We can't do nothing. Where can we go? But whether they were taking it well or not, they didn't want us to know what they were taking, and we didn't want them to know. All they wanted to know is that we're all right, and all we want to know is they're all right. And that's how we navigated the conversations. Albeit all honest and true, we just kept them simple. Anyway, I said, all right, Jim, I'm thinking of going, but how much is it going to cost me? He said, only about 135 quid all in, flight. I thought, no, can't do. I've been to abroad previously, it's fucking cost 10 times that. 135 quid, flight, accommodation, week, 10 days in Portugal. So I called him. I said, all right, fuck it, let's do it. I'll give you 135 quid. I'll come give you now. So I went round and gave him the cash. And with that, I'm waiting for the holiday. I didn't hear much more from him. He kind of locked me into the holiday and what was to come. So during that time, we've been on visits, and again, self-control. We visited HMP Chelmsford and learned how to be a visitor. You get searched. You got your mum, your dad being searched by a load of fucking screws are no good. It's like old Bill, really. And winding everyone up, driving you mad, telling them what to do wrong, and then you get it wrong, and then you fucking getting a bit of noise off it, and it's just fucking winding you up. And that's all they want to do. They just want to wind you up, put you in a situation where you're fucking in there with them, and then the support group's gone. It's that kind of theme that run through my experience in this situation. People trying to wind me up to get me to fucking blow and get in there. And then they fucking got us by the neck. But I was determined not to let them fucking rile me. And as hard as it was, and I sometimes got on, I sometimes blew, and you watched them fucking disappearing up their own asses when they were given a bit of fucking stick back. I had to find it somewhere in me to just fucking hold it together. It's so easy in those circumstances to lose the plot. We've been provoked. Basically, you're being fucking set up to fucking kick off. Anyway, all this tip of the iceberg as far as this podcast, and you probably think, this is waffling on a bit now, but as we go through, you'll understand why. Certainly here, I'm mentioning all these things now. So I asked them if they needed anything, and we had a laugh and a joke, and they told me some funny stories about their friends in there and, the crazy situation. One in particular, there was a guy in there, I won't mention his name, but my brothers, found him funny and, had a chat with him. And he was in the cell next door. And one day he was doubled up with another bloke, 2 bunks. Another guy came in and he had his papers, the guy who came in his papers, and he put them there. And whilst the guy was out of work, a friend of my brother's went through his debts. Anyway, that night, this is how the story goes. There's screams and alarm bells going off, and fucking the new guy's screaming and fucking shouting. And the screws come in and fucking busted the door down and got him. And the guy in there is fucking, one's laughing, one's screaming, trying to get out. So the next day they went to the guy, brother, and said, what happened in there last night? He said, fucking no good, cunt, he said, I had a look in his papers, he said, he's in here for buggery. He said, I'm not having none of that. He said, you fucking illiterate cunt. He said, he's in here for burglary. He set him alight because he thought he was in here for fucking bacon or something. So those are the stupid things, the things that you have conversations in jail. One of them, I'm sure lots of people don't have those conversations, but that's one we had about a story of the antics of someone in jail next door who wasn't able to read and write as well as others, let's say, and thought to torch his padmate when he misread that he was buggering people when he was in for burglary. I was off to Portugal. I felt in the mood. We went out there. We landed on we had a first floor apartment just opposite the beach. It wasn't 1.5's worth on its own, but there we are. We're there. And we do the usual things other than wearing the British shorts or pants or whichever you want to call them, although they were certain versions of them on and off on the beach. And we're going to get pissed. We're going to have a laugh. We're going to talk to some women, enjoy ourselves and go clubbing. Standard. We'd all go out. Jimmy, Nikki, myself would go out, get dressed, as everyone does, go out and have something to eat. And then we go to one bar. We had this bar. And we'd go in there, we'd have a few beers, a few JDs or whatever we'd want to drink, shots or whatever. And then go out. But Jimmy would never go out. They'd end the night there about 10 o'clock, half 10. Nikki and me would fuck off to the nightclubs and stay till 3, 4, as long as we could in the morning. Jimmy went home. He always walked home. And whilst I find that very strange, then as now, we still let it go on. I just didn't ask him. Didn't want to ask him. I didn't want the answer. I knew what I needed to know. I knew Jimmy was wrong. I knew long before then that Jimmy was wrong. Nikki, I was surprised, but there you go. Jimmy's pain. But Nicky didn't act as if he was wrong. He'd act like my best mate. We were out partying, laughing, joking, chatting to different people. Anyway, this went on for a while. And then one night, we didn't have any mobile phones on us then. Somehow, Nicky came up and said, "Oh, Jimmy's in the pub around the corner. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning." I thought, how the fuck did he get that message to him? I'm pissed, but I still thought that. Anyway, we fucking went round to the pub. As we walking into the bar, there's Jimmy there with 6 birds. They've all got their backs to me. They're playing those fucking sticky dart games, all pissed. As we've walked in, we're the only people in the pub, just us and them. They've turned around, and as they did, I just thought, fuck it, you're old Bill. Now, you may all be in party dresses and all the rest of it, but you are definitely look like fucking old Bill. You in particular. I didn't say anything though, I just wanted to be sure, because, remember, whilst we dropped into this shithole we're in now, we lived in Essex and East London. We're not adverse to fucking old Bill or smelling them when they're around the fucking corner. It's ain't just something I've learned. I knew what old Bill looked like. I knew what they smelt like. And they're no fucking good. And here's an example where I knew that these fuckers weren't right. Anyway, so we walked over, we're playing it simple, getting involved, having a drink. Anyway, one of them has come over to me. Let's call her the lead girl, or can I call her the officer in charge, perhaps? And she became particularly interested in me. Now, I'm not taking away any of my, charms or chivalrous ways, but it wasn't here because I turned off the fucking monitor. I was just interested in what these people wanted. I wasn't chatting her up. I was just there talking, trying to understand what was going on. Anyway, let's call her Jane, for example. And we started drinking. And Jimmy said, while we're drinking, he said, why don't we go back to the apartment and carry on? We've got some vodka and scotch there. We'll carry on with the party. So all these girls were up for it. Anyway, we got back to as we were walking back, there's one particular girl, I call girl, women, and she's bursting into tears all the time. I can't take it, I can't. And the others are huddling around her like they don't want us to see her. I'm saying, "You all right? Is she all right there?" "Oh, yeah, don't worry." So she split up with her boyfriend and blah, blah, blah. And it's fucking saying all right. It almost felt like she was out there it sounds crazy, doesn't it? We talk about paranoia. I just felt this feeling. It sounded like to me, or it felt like to me, that she didn't want to go through whatever she was being asked to go through. She didn't like it, what she was being asked to do. That was the sense I was getting. So we went back to the apartment and we were sitting there and chatting away. All the drinks are being poured and all laughing and joking. And Jane's rocked up next to me again. And I've got to try and say to myself, look, is it, one version of me is saying they're all Bill. Another version of me is saying, am I being oversensitive? Am I being fucking paranoid? Am I getting a grip? Do I fucking destroy my life not chatting birds up, this, that and the other because I'm sensitive? Your fucking brain's ticking over. But I'm now opening up a little, being a lot more, not friendly. I was friendly anyway, but flirting, let's say. I was flirting with this bird. Anyway, so I'm chatting away to her, Jane, and with that, she's turned around and said, why are you out here? And I thought I was just saying, because I want to have a bit of fun, I want to get pissed. So I felt like saying something like that. And then before I could say a word, Jimmy piped up after saying absolutely fucking nothing for about an hour. I said, he's here because his brother's away for murder and he's fucking trying to get a bit of rest. And I was like, you fucking idiot, what are you talking about? What do you do that for? In any normal situation, you'd think, these birds are just going to fucking run and dive off the balcony or try and run through that fucking wall when they're being told that the geezer they're sitting chatting away with, pissed out their fucking brain on holiday with no fucking knows them. His brothers are away for murder. That's what you expect. No, all of them start fucking laughing. Really? I don't know if they thought it was fucking some joke or something, but Jimmy's very, very convincing. And the bird was sitting next to me, Jay said, it's terrible. I'm really sorry. And I thought I was back at Faye's house again. What happened there? You terrible. Tell me. I'm like, right, now fucking, I know where I am. But then I just thought, fuck it, you know what I mean? Fuck it. You want to get into me, I'm going to get into you. So fucking, we just carried on talking, and one thing led to another, and she stayed. She stayed after a night of mushroom treatment. Mushroom treatment merely meaning keeping her in the dark and feeding them shit. I told them I didn't know what I know now. I knew certain things then, and the little I knew, I just made up a load of rubbish just to steer them in the wrong direction. And the more I said, the more they were interested. Yes, here again, the silly boy way. But it was saving my fucking life, because this silly boy way was just opening everyone up and keeping me safe, because it kind of chilled me. The sillier I become, well, not sillier, but the fucking smarter actually I become, the silly boy way, and the more controlled I became, the easier I found it to live, to get on. So anyway, the next day, which was one of our final days, I went down to the beach with Jimmy and Nikki, as we would often do, had a kick about, and then Jimmy disappeared somewhere, Nikki went off somewhere, and I'd arranged to meet Jane outside a little cafe. So, I walked off, found the cafe, and Jane and a couple of friends were sitting outside. So as I walked up to them, I was sitting down and asked if they wanted a drink or anything. And the one that kept crying, she started crying again. Oh, I can't go through. Oh, no, I can't. And then they're fucking huddling around her. Oh, no, trying to shuffle her out off the way, getting a hook around her neck like on the stage. They're trying to drag her off the fucking, away from the table and chairs outside this cafe. So it was just me and Jane sitting there. And she said, oh, look, I'm sorry about it last night, asking lots of questions and all that. I said, oh, don't worry about it. I said, I actually felt it was quite relaxing, to get it off my chest. And her eyes lit up. Her eyes lit up. Fucking, she was almost licking her lips. Go on, she interrupted. And I just thought, I'm just going to fucking give her a load of shit again. So I said, look, can I trust you? She said, of course. She leant both elbows on the thing, leaning on her hands, her chin on her hands. Of course you can. What is it? What is it you want to get off your chest? I said, look, between us, Bert told me that he'd been run over by a passing car, and the police hid this from the case, as the same car also ran over the deceased's head whilst he was in the middle of the road, before being moved to the curb by Stacey Westfield, a barmaid who gave him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. So the police don't know if the car killed him with a copper in it, or the barmaid killed him when she moved his head and he started popping blood everywhere. It definitely couldn't have been me either way. So that's what my brother told me. She fucking eyes rolled back in her head and her mouth was wide open, as if it was the last thing she expected me to say. I said, I was watching, I said, are you all right? And she was like, head into her cocktail, took a massive gulp and went, I am, but it's a lot to take in. What car accident and who's the other man? Do you have any details on this? Is there any evidence? And that was it, copper. You're just a fucking bacon. So I said, look, the other man, the man was hidden from the case. The man that was involved in the road accident. And I leant forward, my hands down. I remember it like yesterday. Said he was a copper. She couldn't take it anymore. She got up, making excuses. Oh, I've got to go and look after my friend, blah, 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 and this and the other. And it made me think after, what if she wasn't on me? She's listening to all this shit. She must have been fucking out of her mind thinking, this is crazy fucker talking to me. But then, if she wasn't, then, she should do something else with herself, because she just looked like a fucking copper, come across like a fucking copper. And if the duck waddled like a fucking copper, she was old Bill through and through. Seriously. Anyway, fuck it. I finished my drink. And I thought, I'm going to go and find the others, because it was sun was beating down and I needed to go and get a fucking drink myself. So as I'm walking along, I saw these little white pins that looked like they was hanging from a phone kiosk. The little ones you get abroad with a little bar out the middle, and then halfway up they got the wraparound glass, one of them. So I'm walking up to the back of it, right? I just see these little legs sticking out. And as I crept up behind it, I can see Jimmy's calf, so I know he's got his back to me. And I could hear him clearly. Jimmy's on the phone to Faye, his mum. So he's going, I can't do this anymore, mum. He said, I've got to tell Steve to get rid of everything in my shed and I'll get home soon. So I walked round the side and I tapped on the glass and hello, Jim. And he just looked at me and it's just like face to face, clear as day. And he just fucking dropped the phone and run. He just fucking run. And the mouthpiece was just hanging on the phone. The phone was just hanging on its cable. And as I'm picking the phone, I can hear, well done, Jim. Come home, we get through this. Forget the information, we've tried. Hello, Faye. I heard a pause then. Jim, is that you? Who is it? Who's there? Jim, are you okay? I said, hello, Faye, it's me, Dal. I heard everything. Then the phone just went dead. It's fucking, I talk about it now, it's like, seriously, like what you're about to hear makes this like fucking, not even the appetizer, but just saying it is, yeah, it's crazy shit. To say that our last night in that flat, in that apartment was just, strange, it's an understatement. And yeah, Jimmy, Faye, Nikki, they're all interested in knowing far too much about what I knew. And they thought, it was obvious that they took me to Portugal to find out. Taking me to Portugal, it wouldn't have taken too much for someone if, I was overly interested or paranoid to get into my flat, although nothing was there. I don't think anyone would at that point. But in any event, they got me away to fucking grill me and took a couple of shots at me with these birds and themselves to do it. So when we got home, we had my brother's bail hearing, and my dad's mate Tommy put up 250 grand for each of my brothers, and he just reassured my father that he was a close friend, which they absolutely. Wicks, on the other hand, had his family put up 50 grand for him. Now, in this instance, the judge ordered Wicks get bail. Now, Wicks was on the same charge as me brothers. There's enough witnesses put him at the scene, and 2 witnesses picked him out at an ID parade and didn't pick me brothers out, although my brothers were arrested at the scene. Now, you can weigh it up how you want, but that's what happened. The judge gave Wicks bail and refused me brothers, so they had to serve the rest of their time up to trial on remand. And I hadn't heard from Jimmy or Nikki for a week, I think it was about a week or 2 after coming home. So I knocked on Jimmy's door 5 or 6 times. Remember, he's only lived around the back to me, so it's an easy little walk around the back. So one day I just went round the other way, and Steve was coming out. I said, "Oh, Steve, Jimmy about?" He turned around with a shocked look at his, "Jimmy, yeah, he's in his new flat." I said, "Oh, yeah, what new flat's that?" He said, "Oh, well, Jimmy had been knocked back, hadn't he? By the council on 2 properties they offered him, and he had a bit of luck when he come back from holiday because the council offered him one of those granny flats in Lime Close." Well, the granny flats, as they were fondly known to us when we were all growing up, because they were in and around us all. There were a few of them dotted around. Not many of them, but they were nice flats. They're large, with a balcony about 5 metres by 5 metres, and they had entrances front and rear, and they were for the elderly, hence the granny flats phrase. But no one ever got one under 60 years old. No one. Not anyone. There's a reason for that. Jimmy, being 26, was an unlikely candidate, even with his single white male persona. He wasn't a granny. I said, all right. So I asked him for the door number, and I went across the estate into Lime Close. As I did, I could hear some rave music, 90s rave music, house music pumping from the terrace on this granny flat. Sun was beaming, French doors open on the first floor, barbecue smoking away. So I knocked on the door closest to the car park, and there was no answer. The music went down, and I knocked again. This time the music went off completely. I opened the letterbox, putting my mouth closer. I went, "Jim," no answer. So I peeled back up the letterbox a bit more to see if I could see anyone at the top of the single stairs, and saw my brother's girlfriend, Michelle's baby, pushed there against the wall, and a female trainer's underneath. Is it Jimmy's interest in the case motivated by his relationship with my brother's ex-girlfriend? Does he want to know if my brother's going to spend time, or a lot of time, he's murdered, for fuck's sake, he's going to spend something there, isn't he? I just tried to lighten the fact that he was just trying to get too involved in me. Anyway, with that buzzing around in my head, I walked over, I got in my car, a little white Vauxhall at the time, and drove off to Grace to see if I could get hold of Nikki. As I arrived in the car park where he lived, there were some teenagers standing next to his communal entrance door to his flat. So I just fucking threw it in as far as I could, jumped out, left the door open, ran up the stairs and knocked on his door. Well, as the entrance buzzer hadn't been pushed, he must have thought that it was a neighbour wanting to get to talk to him or something. And he didn't have a spy on the door to check. So he opened his front door. You fucking look on his face, I tell you, when he answered and I was standing there. I said, "All right, Nick." "Oh, I'm going out right now, Dal," he said. I went, "What, in your underpants?" And with that, I fucking pushed past him and then looked in the kitchen on the right and saw his frying pan, fajita kit and chicken frying in the fucking frying pan. "Oh, you going out, are you, Nick?" Anyway, I went straight in the front room. Now, Nicky he was decorating, right? And the floors were bare. There had no carpet, just the council's tiles, the dark brown thin tiles that you get in the council flats. I've seen many of them. And the walls looked like they were made of marble with so much fucking painter's filler in them, filling all the cracks. And then the bit of dado here. Yeah, it was in decorative fucking state, you know what I mean? And the reason I say that is because right in the middle of the fucking room was a state-of-the-art telly, black, on a stand, built-in surround sound. And as Nicky put it, even if the world's axis changes, you've got a button on here and it'll fucking, and I thought, well, bollocks, world's axis changes, you're just fucking watching telly, are you? But that's what he said. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know. Perhaps he was just bubbling away because I was there. So I went, all right, Nick. And now I knew he didn't have fucking much to rub together. If he had, he'd have decorated his fucking flat. So I said, oh, how much did that come to, Nick? He said, oh, it's $1,000. I said, you paid $1,000 for that? He said, no, it was given to me. And then the penny dropped. I mean, you got Jimmy got a fucking flat off the council after having 2 fucking snide ones offered to him. The minute he gets back home off his solidly. And the next thing, someone's bought Nicky a fucking grounds worth of kit. And, you know, whether obvious or not to me that these people wanted to get into us, I had to just continue with what I was doing. Trying to make some money, trying to keep it together, trying to keep us together, pay a few bills, get through it. Simple. Because as much as I was earning as a carpenter, you know, a lot of the time my earnings were related to those working around me, my family. So we were producing a load of work and that's how we're getting paid. Now I'm working on my own now, you know, so I can produce a bit of work, but I can't start producing the amount of money to keep everyone, keep the bills going, all that rent and all that sort of stuff. So the defence team are putting up their defence, and their defence is basically defence of automatism. And I won't go into the legal depth, but the short is that the defence were setting out to prove that the combination of alcohol, which he took voluntarily, obviously he had a drink at the pub, and the combination of drugs that he said to be spiked with caused him to act as a murderer. He had no other, according to them, defence available to him because he was at the scene and there was a load of witnesses that gave evidence against him. Therefore, the samples were important and the samples being taken in a particular way. So the person taking the samples would take the samples at a particular time and they would exhibit them by giving them their own reference numbers. So, for example, in this instance, Alexander James Mitchell would exhibit the first exhibit taken, AJM/1. And there would be a time and date to that. So the next one will be AJM2. And whoever he took them, so whether it be whichever person, they have to run in order. So he could never have 2 AJM3s, for example. So he took 3 samples from AJM1, AJM2, and AJM3. Bizarrely, and even though Wicks was arrested a week later at his own house, after the police had statements that he was involved that night, they left him for a week. They took his blood and named it AJM3A. So whether the police and their forensic scientists were trying to fudge the water or the blood in this instance was something that the defence team were supposed to be interested in but didn't advance or put to in the court. They also took my brother's urine sample 24 hours late, approximately. One was 26, one was 27, but 24 roughly. So a long time after, which basically means that the blood samples were pretty much useless. And if the blood samples and the urine samples are pretty much useless, then any tests on them is going to result in a test that has little or no drugs and or alcohol, and therefore their defence was fucked. Intentionally fucked by the police, the ignorance of the defence lawyers. I mentioned Paul Harris, but who was acting for both, a solicitor for both my brothers, but the leading counsel for my youngest brother, Bert, was George Carter Stevenson, KC, at 25 Bedford Road Chambers, as was his junior, Miss Arlette Piercy. Now, also during the time they were in jail, the solicitors decided to stop my brother Paul receiving his antipsychotic medication. Now, he's in jail, right? He's on a serious charge, murder. He's in a prison, so there's this thing called prison psychosis, but whatever you want to call it, you can imagine what stress you'd be under when you're in a prison, on a serious charge, looking at the rest of your life behind bars. What I'm saying to you is all these things cause anxiety, cause stress. Now, that's enough for any person with the strongest mind to take. If you need medication because of drug-induced psychosis, depression, anxiety, after having a breakdown, the last thing you need is to have your medication taken off you. The reason that medication was taken off him was to force him into admitting to the murder under a higher degree, i.e. paranoid schizophrenia. So the short is that the defence team, Paul Harris, ensured that my brother Paul was taken off his medication for so long that his mental health deteriorated, and therefore he would sign anything to get out of prison, and that was promised to him by his barrister, Statman, QC. He loved to look at himself as Batman. He called himself Batman. It's a Statman character, now a judge. And so there it was. My brother had to read from a card. He became so ill. I accept manslaughter, diminished responsibility for the murder of Gary Edwards. And that was that. And I say that was that because once he admitted it and all the witness statements said that my brothers acted together, my youngest brother's case was fucked because under joint enterprise, he was with him and therefore he was in it with him. You got to say to yourself, why would the defence behave in such a way? They ignored the sampling issues, the mislabeling, and then there was the testing, potential swapping. So whilst Paul was being administered procyclidine as part of his antipsychotic medication, that medication was found in Bert's samples. Surely that's swapping samples, isn't it? Because one wasn't taking the other one's medication, and how would they have been smart enough to do that on the night and all that stuff? In the meantime, I had to earn some money, and one afternoon Dad spoke to me and said, look, he said, I know you're struggling. He said, you're working night and day. He said, but Tommy's just been on the phone and said, there's an opportunity for you to earn a few quid. Can you go and fix the stage at the Cali? Now, the Cali was the California pub in North Woolwich in East London, which Tommy owned, one of the pubs Tommy owned in the area. So I thought, lovely, all right, 7 o'clock at night, I'll go and fucking fix the stage and I'll earn a few quid and that'll all help. So I put the tools in the boot, drove down the A13 into Milk Street where I parked and skill saw in one hand, toolbox in the other, and looked at this fucking dive of a pub, doors on the corners. So I walked in, it was like a saloon, then through another pair of doors. And as it was dark in there, and my feet were picking up the carpet, sticking to it. Like as I'm walking, as I'm taking a step, I'm picking the carpet up each step. So the carpet was so sodden. I mean, the carpet didn't have a pattern. It was just like dark, browny, black, sticky fucking mess. Right. As I look to the right, there's about half a dozen local geezers over there sniffing on the bar, smoking dope. Fucking one of them's getting a blowjob. Fucking, most people are sitting there going, where's that pub? I've got to fucking go around there now. As I swung round, I panned round, as I put it, I swung round a little bit, and then there's the bar on my right, wrapped round the bar. All the area light on, and there's this fucking lump about 30 stone standing with his arms folded, leaning against the back bar. He's got a fucking big load of Tom, a big fucking gold chain, a gold pistol at the end of it. I'm thinking, it's fucking great, isn't it? I've been to some dive pubs and fucking Ghazies, but this one's looking a bit like fucking dusk till dawn. So anyway, next thing I go, hello, darling. So I fucking look round to my left. I'm Kitty. There's a bird standing fucking stark bollock naked. She's got a pair of fucking pack of cards tattooed on one tit. She's had a boob job. One of her tits has fucking got a pack of cards or a few cards tattooed on them. She turned around, stuck her arse out. One's got a Snoopy dog on one cheek and a fucking, like a jean patch. Like she had got a pair of jeans on, but she's naked on it. I was like, fucking, all right. Her hair's bleached blonde so much so you can fucking snap it. Good looking bird, but fucking like that. So I know, yeah. And I fucking carried on, smiled at her, went over, walked over to Wayne. So I said, all right, Wayne. He said, all right, mate. So he said, do you want a drink? I said, no, I just want to crack on. So he said, all right, go out in the garden, he said, in the yard. And some timber out there, you can just fix the stage. It's just birds been jumping all over it. It's just fucking broken the corner. So yeah, no problem. I'll go and do it. So I've got some timber. I was in and out of there in no time. Took a bit of money off him. Went home, gave it me dad and for the visits. And we cracked on. I remember I was driving over thinking, fucking hell, I've been in some proper fucking dives, but that one there, it's a fucking, that's got to be the fucking top of them. Next morning I woke up, got a phone call with Nan. Oh, it's a job in a Newham recorder. You got to work away for 6 weeks and then you come home for 6 weeks. I thought, oh, fuck it, I don't fancy that. But I thought, it's paying well. I've got to stay away with a load of fucking people in little digs, but I'll have to swallow it. So I got my gear in my car, just about to pull off. The old man's running. He went, hang on. Don't go anywhere. Tommy's been on the phone. He wants you to fucking do him a favour. And now I thought to myself, I can't really say no because he's just put up £500,000 for me brothers. Even though he didn't get it, he still put it up. I thought, fuck it, I can't say no. I said, what's the favour? He said, he wants you to run the Cali, the place I've just been to with a fucking stage. So how's that then? He said, well, Wayne's fucked off. He's running the puddings in Stratford. He said he's fucking left. So he's got to open his pub. So he said, can you do it? So I'm thinking, fucking hell, like, how bad's it got to get? Now, it wasn't running the place so much. I mean, even though it was fucking going to be daunting. I mean, I remember you won't know, but the Cali is in the middle of fucking Canning Town and Custom House, right? To say these areas can be volatile is just fucking laughable. And they want me to run this fucking strip club, nightclub, fucking pub in the middle of the fucking chaos, right? Whilst I'm in the middle of the fucking chaos. So I said, all right, fuck it, I'll do it. If I can earn some money at it, I can keep everyone going. Fucking, I'll have it. I don't really fancy staying away with a load of people. Fuck it, I'll go and I'll do it. So anyway, I turned up there, met by Tommy's son, And he showed me the ropes, gave me the keys, and I went down the cellar. It was fucking putrid, full of shit, literally, while the pump weren't working. All the carsies are fucking backing up. There's no beer on tap. It's all cheese in the fucking pumps. We ain't used it for years because they've been buying fucking booze from overseas and sticking the cans in the fucking behind the bar. And even then, there was only a few of them. And it's because no one's really in there drinking. They're on a few spirits on the fucking Morgan Spice or something. Also, they had to hand it in there. But they were just fucking sniffing and smoking and fucking in there and whatever. You know what I mean? The place was shit. It was just fucking dump. I thought, fucking, I've got to clear this place up before I can do a thing. Now, that wasn't so bad because that's something I knew about. Bit of painting, carpentry, cleaning, fine, labouring, whatever it was. That I can smarten up. I've got to fucking try and make this place look a bit more appealing. Because, believe me, it didn't look in any way appealing. So I cleaned the place up, I painted everything, I got a fucking carpet cleaner and I washed out the tank about 10 times until I could see something of a pattern appearing in the carpet, and then another couple of goes and the water was never clear, but it was fucking enough to stop the carpet being picked up by your shoes when you walked in. So then I went upstairs into what they called the club, but no one was using it as a club. It was being used as a fucking place for people to get their head down. Little mattresses, cardboard on the floor. They were charging people like 15 quid a night to fucking stay in there. So I cleared all that out. And then I went downstairs, put it all in the yard. And as I did, I come out the double gates at the end to let the bin man in. And there's a geezer standing on the left leaning on his fence. So I said, all right, mate. He said, oh, you new governor? I could tell he wasn't like, this is in all fairness to him, the sharpest tool in the book, say that. But lovely, lovely man. Genuine. So I said, yeah, all right. So he said, yeah, I know this place. My dad used to use that place when his mate ran it. I said, oh, who's his mate? He said, Roy Shaw. He said, he used to have this pub. I said, what, the pub I'm running? He went, yeah. He said, oh, right, that's fucking brilliant. I said, oh, yeah, they had a brilliant time in there. He said, not like it used to be, is it? I said, no, I don't suppose it is. So I said, what are you up to? He said, I love to do a bit of work. He said, but no one will employ me. I said, oh, why is that? He said, oh, they think I'm a bit of an idiot. And I said, oh, well, it's not on, is it? I said, well, how much do you charge? I didn't have fucking nothing, did I? He said, well, what are you offering? So I'm fucking like, all right. So I said, look, you tell me what you want, and then we'll start there. So he said, well, I want to watch the girls. He said, but I don't want to pay anything. I said, what, you don't want to put any money in their glass? No. I said, all right, deal. You help me, and you can stay in the pub. I'll give you a couple of beers, and you can sit there and you can watch the girls as long as you like. Said, can I bring a mate? I said, all right, fuck it. You can bring a mate. I'll give them 2 beers as well. But if you can come and help me, I said, I'll tell you what, I'll even give you some food. If we start doing food, do sandwiches or rolls or French dip, whatever we do, you can have that as well. He nearly launched himself over this fucking fence. Coming in, I'll do it now. So what, you want to start now? Yeah. So fucking, I must say, this geezer fucking grafted. He fucking cleaned the place. I remember going into the basement, seeing him. He was up to his fucking knees in shit with buckets. Fucking, honestly, he was fucking unbelievable. Hats off to the man. Because he got it back. He didn't pay for fuck all going forward. He sat in that pub day and night. His mate come in, had beers. They didn't have to have 2 beers. They had fucking loads of beers. Everyone was making a fuss of them. But then I had to get the girls started. And I had worked in a pub before. I'd also worked in ex-girlfriend's pub, B, Bridget, in Ipswich, called the Black Adder, which was like their Way supporters pub. And Bridget was an ex-girlfriend, and I won't go into the big story, but I went down there for one weekend with a mate of hers, a bloke mate of hers, and ended up staying for 3 months and dating her. But in the meantime, I worked behind a bar, got to know about that. And her brother, John, was managing the Soccer Six in its infancy back then. So it was at Mile End and then at Craven Cottage, Fulham. And so he asked me to be his minder, if you want to say that's a bit stupid. Walk around with him, make sure he didn't get a battering because he's got one arm. And he's got 2 arms, but one doesn't work. And run the bar. So that's what I did. So I worked at Bridget's as a girlfriend in the Black Adder, and I worked with John there. So I had a bit of experience, but nothing with strippers. Nothing working with strippers anyway. The day had come, the strippers were due. I asked Ted to close all the curtains at 1:45 in the afternoon. That's what the time the strippers got there. And there was kids on bikes outside, jumping up on the frames, trying to peer through the windows, look at the girls' nights. Anyway, pub was empty. So I'm sitting there, large JD and Coke, staring at the floor, thinking the cleanish floor, no stick floor. I'm thinking, fucking, what am I doing here? What honestly am I fucking doing here? And with that, the door was opened and 2 birds walked in. All jeans, jumpers walked in. So I said, look, excuse me, lady. I said, we've got some exotic dancers in here. I put it like that. Exotic dancers in here today. I said, you're welcome to stay, but, I'm just saying. And they said, oh, we are them. So, oh, right, change rooms over there, which was the women's toilet. That was it. Anyway, back fucking daydreaming, looking at my drink. And then all of a sudden, in front of me on the floor was a pair of fishnets, patent shoes, patent knee-length boots, then knickers, and then one of them. And as I'm raising up, one on my left said to me, "Hi, I'm Paula," in a Brazilian English, broken English, Brazilian fucking accent. And I'm like, okay. She said, "This is my niece, Helena." Paula and Helena, the Brazilian strippers. And I said, right, okay, so what do you want to do next? And they would look at me and say, he's green, we're going to fucking have a little bit of fun with him. And she leaned in and she went to me, "Do you mind if we do naked, full naked, or bras on?" And I remember sitting there thinking, that's a fucking question. So I said, "We do naked in here." Listen in to each episode as I engage you in my personal journey of how a boy growing up on a council estate in Essex would eventually own the most exclusive online private members club in the world.